I've always been someone who's quite active and enjoyed activity. Never really been a gym person. My main problem was I'd get what you think was a decent night's sleep and I'd wake up and I'd think, could do with another one of them. I was literally doing everything that we're told to do. And the only thing that wasn't on there was strength training. And I haven't done it for vanity. I haven't done it because I want to be strong per se. I've done it because I want to actually lead a good life for as long as possible and do all the things I want to do. My friends say to me, oh, you just do too much exercise, Jan. You just do too much. And I'm like, no, I don't do enough. I should have started strength training earlier than I did. I have to confess that I don't think there is a morning where I get up and go, whoopee, I'm going to do my workout. But just try something, because it's definitely energized me and made an improvement in my life for doing it.
So today on the Never Taught to Live podcast, I am joined by Jan, who was one of the founding members of Stronger for Life, the online course that I run. And I really wanted to get you on, Jan, because compared to some of the other stories we've had on the podcast of people who had never done exercise routinely before and then took on strength training, I really liked the fact that you were actually very active before and then started strength training on top of that. And firstly, I just wanted to get an idea of some of the history of your relationship with exercise and what it was you were doing before, and then what it was that motivated you to want to start strength training.
Well, I teach yoga for a living, so I've done yoga for 30 years odd. And I've always been very active. I always like hill walking, and in lockdown I did lots of work. I used to get up every morning and do an hour on the treadmill and cross trainer. So I've always been someone who's quite active and enjoyed activity. Never really been a gym person. I've always worked at home. I've done my practice at home. I'm lucky that I've got some equipment at home, so I can exercise at home. And to be honest, I really thought that a good lot of cardio and my yoga would see me through anything, because I just thought, I'm fit and healthy, I eat a good diet, I do everything that I should do, and so there shouldn't be any reason why I shouldn't just sail into older life and everything will be fine. And then I got hit by the menopause, and that just made me quite fatigued. And so initially I tried to just work with what I was doing. And then I thought, right, okay, I'm going to have some intervention. So I went on to HRT. But HRT, for several reasons, did not agree with me at all. And so then I sort of went through adding supplements to my diet. And again, I wasn't really seeing any progress. And I was following a few menopause experts that are based in the US, and there was a lot about strength training, about how it just helped, especially women as we get older. So I thought, well, why not give it a try? I'm not going to lose anything. It's not going to be a negative. And so then I saw your program, and I thought that was ideal because I could do it at home. But I had some structure to it. And so I started doing that, and pretty soon I noticed a difference. I really did notice a difference. I noticed that and I still do, on days that I do a full workout, I sleep better at night. And even though I have to confess, I do my workout first thing in the morning, drag myself out of bed. We've got a shed outside which has got a weights machine and an old cross trainer, and it's nothing posh, but it works for me. And I have to confess that I don't think there is a morning where I get up and go, whoopee, I'm going to do my workout. It's always like, right, come on, you've got to go and do it. And it takes a full workout takes about 75 minutes. And I do a little warm up on the cross trainer just to wake myself up, and then I do a series of different weights. But I always feel better for doing it. So I feel invigorated for doing it. I feel energized for doing it. And I haven't done it for vanity. I haven't done it because I want to be strong per se. I've done it because I want to actually lead a good life for as long as possible and do all the things I want to do. And one of my main hobbies is gardening. I absolutely adore gardening. Um, and so just being able to move compost bags around and move pots around and do, 2 or 3 hours digging. Um, and I found that it certainly has helped with all aspects of my life. I play tennis as well, and it's certainly helped with my shot strength, my serve strength. It's helped with just undoing jars in the kitchen. So it's those sorts of things that I just I just want to keep that strength. And I was one of the ladies I follow in America, Dr. Mary Claire. There was a survey out today. They only did a small a sort of consultation, whatever you call it. And they had 233 women between 50 and 60, and they gave some strength training. And they found that even if you were above your BMI, even if you had a fair amount of body fat, if you had lean muscle, your bones were healthier. And so that's what I think spurs me on, because I think actually I only want to be healthy. And it seems to be that the more lean muscle you have, the healthier you are. And for me, that seems to work. So it's I wouldn't say I love it, but I love the result of it. So therefore, I keep going.
Amazing. And yeah, we sort of cover quite a span of the journey there. So wanted to focus back a little bit more at the start then. And you'd said you'd never really been a gym person before. Was there any kind of either sort of preconceived ideas of what strength training was, or why it maybe wasn't for you, or was it just that it just didn't appeal and you?
I think various reasons. I think the idea of going to a gym for me is like, oh, I'm just gonna be the, cosmetically, it's not going to work for me. I'd feel self-conscious about going into a gym. Um, Even though I stand up and teach yoga every week, going into a gym is a different thing. I can remember when I was a long time ago in my 20s, when I used to work for a computer company, and I was in California and went to a gym there, and oh my god, it was just full of men with muscles that were about the size of my thighs, and I was just like arm muscles, and I was just like, ooh. And I think also I'm fundamentally quite lazy, and so if I had to go to a gym, I'd find an excuse not to go. So I've always done my exercise at home or from home. So I've always, if I've run, it's always been on a treadmill at home. Um, because I'm not a great runner, and I don't like going out running, because of the fact that if I feel I want to stop, then if you're out, you've got to get home. Whereas actually on the treadmill, you're there anyway. So if for any reason you decide to do 5k and you only do three, it's not a problem. But actually for me, because I've got that option, I tend to do what I set out to do. But I've always been into exercise. When I was younger, I used to do lots of exercise classes. And as I say, I went into yoga. So I've always been aware that it's important. But for some reason, and I think a lot of people are like this, that, the guidelines say we should do however many minutes it is a week. And the guidelines also say we should add strength training into that. But that seems to get missed out many times. It seems to be we won't include that. We won't let people know about that. And I wasn't aware until I started working with you that actually strength training was in the guidelines. It had just completely passed me by.
Two sessions per week of muscle strengthening for anyone 65 and under, but actually, yeah, 65 and over, it then increases to 3 sessions a week. Because, like you say, they're no, sort of aware of the fast decline of muscle after that. But again, I mean, a lot of people aren't even meeting the minutes of physical activity, let alone when you're supposed to be adding in the strength training on top of that. And it's a little bit like you say, there's a lot of people who are intimidated by the gym and think strength training has to be done in a gym, and the fact that say you've not been doing it, you managed to do it all from home without too much in the way of equipment, and we'll kind of explore what your workouts look like in a second. Um, But yeah, a lot of people are falling short. And but I think for a lot of people, if they are listening who aren't doing anything right now, we don't have to jump in at 3 sessions a week or 2 sessions. Because one thing I wanted to talk about there was your workouts now being 75 minutes. For some people listening, that's going to sound really daunting, and they're never from going from zero getting to 2 or 3 75-minute workouts. Is that how you started? What were your workouts or length of workouts tended to be at the start?
Well, when I first started, I mean, I was doing cardio in the morning anyway. So as I say, I use the cross trainer just to wake up. So I normally do about sort of 20 to 30 minutes on the cross trainer, and that wakes me up because it's first thing in the morning. And then I do a selection of movements. So some with weights, some with just body weight. I do tricep dips with just body weight most of the time. Sometimes I use weights, lowering behind my head. And then we've got a very old weights machine, and I mean really old. It's must be about 25 years old. It's a piston driven thing. I would not be able to tell you what setting it's on. It's that old. But it allows me to do leg extensions and lat pull downs, which I do. When I first started, I was following your format, and I was doing bent over rows and deadlifts, and I think my form on those wasn't correct because I did then get an issue with my lower back, and I don't know if that was due to that or just life, because obviously as you go through the menopause there is a tendency for tendinopathy. Things don't quite work as they once used to. So I stopped doing deadlifts and bent over rows. But I'm hoping to start back on them now. I've been doing things to try and improve the back. The back doesn't hurt anymore, which is good. But I've been doing things to just try and strengthen around the pelvic area, lower back. So bridges with weights, with weighted pelvis and things like that. So, but initially I was probably spending about just half an hour on weights, if that. And I started with really low weights. I started with 2k, 1k sometimes, really small weights. And now I'm up to, as I say, I don't know what my leg presses are, but as I was saying, when I was away, I was using a machine, and I could do a leg press for about 55 pounds, which I'm happy with. Um, so for me, it's not so much the weight. I try not to think about the weight per se. I just think, is this challenging me? And I know you said you needed to do 3 sets, and on the third set, am I finding this a challenge? And if I am, then I think that's okay. I've got the weight about right. And if I think I could do 3 easily, then I think, right, okay, I need to then adjust the weight and lift it up a bit. But I try not to get too focused on the weight per se, because I think that was maybe what caused my back issue. I was going too fast too soon for me.
And was there, when you said you started light and gradually built up, and I know you've since then sort of had the concern around the back, but at the time of starting, was there any particular fears around any exercise or even the concept of using weights or resistance?
No, I was in there and I was like, right, let's give this a try. I was like, if this is going to make a difference, I'm just going to jump in the deep end. I think that was probably my problem. I probably jumped a bit too much into the deep end, too quickly, rather than going a bit more gradually. So now I'm just listening to my body more, and just doing what feels as though it's testing it, but not putting it beyond that test. So, I mean, I've been doing so I've got some gymnastic rings in the garden on an old swing frame, and I've been trying to teach myself to do pull-ups on those, and it took me about 9 months literally before I could just comfortably lift my feet off the floor. And now I've got to the point where I can, happily hang, and I feel as though I'm lifting up, but it's probably micro. So I'm happy with those tiny progresses. I don't need to see big progress. I think I can feel things in my body that are changing, so that works for me.
And it is really important to celebrate those small wins along the way, because that does keep the motivation, like I say. Whereas if you only have the big goals in mind and you always feel like you're falling short of the big goals, then it's a lot easier to kind of keep up with it all. Whereas there will be wins along the way. And I wanted to come back to some of those early wins you had in terms of, and I remember your kind of enjoyment and your happiness in telling me, particularly with the sleep and with the fatigue. So just jumping back before starting the strength training, can you sort of give us an idea of what your fatigue and how your sleep was at that point before having started?
Well, my sleep was okay. I was lucky in the sense that I didn't have too many sleepless nights going through menopause. I did have hot flushes at night, which obviously wake you. But my main problem was I get what you think was a decent night's sleep, and I'd wake up and I'd think I could do with another one of them. And there were days when I was literally, it was like somebody had turned me off. I just did not have the energy to hardly do anything. And that is so unlike me. Normally I'm sort of like, right, let's do this, let's do that, let's get this done. And it was literally like someone had said, no, you're not going to do anything today, I'm just going to switch you off. And so I'd gone to the GP and had blood tests, and I was fine. There was absolutely nothing wrong with me. In fact, I had 2 sets of blood tests over a period of time because nothing was changing. And I said, surely this is, something's going on because this isn't me. But thankfully, there wasn't anything untoward going on. So my theory was, well, maybe then it's down to lifestyle, diet. I have changed my diet a little bit. But I thought, well, I was literally doing everything that we're told to do. And the only thing that wasn't on there was strength training.
Because you were, say, it's not like you had a particularly poor lifestyle in terms of if you're teaching yoga, you're playing tennis, you're doing gardening. And imagine if you're doing all that, yes, say, most of us, our diets could always be slightly better, but I can't imagine it was full of takeaways and ultra processed foods and things like that. No. So up until that point, you were still doing as much of the yoga and everything. But you were still feeling those same levels of fatigue.
Still doing everything I was doing before, but it just was not making any difference really. And I was like, this is ridiculous. And so after I'd sort of the GPs were like, there is nothing wrong with you, basically, go away. Which was fair enough because there isn't anything wrong with me. But I thought, well, then the only thing it can be is sort of, what I'm doing myself. And I have found that through the strength training, as I say, when I've done my workout, I feel, even though I never get up and think, whoopee, I'm going to go and do my workout. Once I've done it, I always feel better for doing it. I always feel energized. And even if I wake up thinking, oh, I'm a bit tired today, I really don't fancy going to do my workout. And I'm quite self-motivated in the sense that because I know that it makes me feel better, I get up and I do it. And I feel better for doing it. So as I said, I'm just coming out of recovering from COVID, and this morning was my first full workout, and I do feel better for doing it. But there was a moment in bed this morning, I'm like, just stay here, it's damp and dull outside, and I could just stay here. But I did it, and I felt better for doing it. So I think the thing is, it's just starting where you can start, even if it's just like 5-10 minutes. If that's all you can do, then do 5-10 minutes, And I think the important thing, it's like, out of all my girlfriends, I think there are 2 of us that do weight training. Nobody else does. And I just, I'm like, but it's really important, girls, you've got to do something. And I think there is that sort of feeling that if you do weight training, you're going to be muscular, you're going to be lean, you're going to be, this sort of bodybuilder-esque. Well, I've been doing it. When did we start? September 20.
I think it's 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not. I've got some muscles, but I'm not muscly. And I think that's it. It's the fact that you don't, it's not going to. For me, it hasn't miraculously changed my body. I'm not much different, but I can tell that, especially in my arms, I feel as I've got more muscle in my arms. I notice it just with walking, in the sense that my quads are stronger. Um, Gardening, as I say, just being able to move a bag of compost around. So you're not going to, you're going to get the benefit without any of the perceived pitfalls. So I think it's just, for me, it feels so important, and I just feel better for doing it.
And we had a menopause expert who's a pelvic health physio or women's health physio, Michelle Lyons, on for one of the episodes. And yeah, when we talked about that kind of misconception of getting bulky, she said, yeah, it's next to impossible in terms of, particularly if it's 2 or 3 sessions a week, and particularly for a women during peri or post menopause, to actually put on muscle size accidentally is not going to happen. So yeah, but you can still, let's say, feel the benefits of feeling stronger and being stronger, without having that kind of feeling of being bulky. Out of interest, is there any other objections that some of your other friends, other than the one that has joined you with strength training, that they have around strength training, or is that the main one?
I think that's the main one. I think there is also this perceived idea that it isn't for women. Women aren't meant to be strong. And I think, it's like, after I've been doing it for however long, 2.5 years. My husband this year started doing weights.
Great.
um, and he's seeing the benefit of it. But I think it's like, I am. My friends say to me, "Oh, you just do too much exercise, Jan. You just do too much," and I'm like, "No, I don't do enough." So I think there is this perceived notion that, women shouldn't necessarily get active. We shouldn't get sweaty. We shouldn't, lift weights and go to gyms or do things like this. And I went with some friends to a local spa, and we all changed. And I said, "Well, I'm just going to go to the gym and do a quick run and some weights before we go to the pool." And they were like, "Ha ha ha, you're very funny." And I'm like, "No, I really am. I'm going to go to the gym and do a quick run and some weights." And they were all like, "But we were having a day at the spa. Our day is about relaxing." And I'm like, "Yeah, and I will relax, but I'm going to do this first." And I think that I don't know. I keep telling everybody that, they should do it, but you can lead a horse to water, can't you?
Yeah, but I think just drip feeding that message in and trying to normalize it is great, because again, a lot of people don't do things because they just assume no one else is doing it. And I think the more people we see, hence part of the reason for the podcast, is sort of share the stories of people that have taken the step and are noticing the benefits.
And I think there is a lot more now on social media about younger women doing strength training. I mean, I know that for my son's girlfriends, I'm always on at them saying, you've got to do some strength training. Don't leave it too late, because I think I should have started mine earlier than I did. I started mine in my early 60s, and I really should have started in my early 50s. But hindsight is a great thing.
It's just I often link strength training with similar of investing and saving money, and yeah, everyone who's or any has understanding about kind of investing or in pensions and things, we sort of wish we started in our early 20s, but yeah, you can only start when you have the realization and not put it off thinking I'll start it another time.
Yeah, but I know. I mean, I was down at my eldest son's the other Christmas, and he had some 12-kilogram weights, and I just lifted them up and went, I was doing this. And his girlfriend was like, wow. And I was like, no, 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 you can do it too. You know, it's that I'm hoping that the more older women do strength training, it'll give the younger women permission to go, well, you know, it's acceptable. And I think to a certain extent, I mean, I don't know if sort of my generation, it's not a lost cause, but I think that it's trying to sell it to older women is a challenge. Whereas I think hopefully it's getting the message is getting through to younger women, especially now it's such a link between, you know, the idea of having lean muscle, and how it will help us, especially women, as we go through menopause.
It reminds me that I think it was episode 6. I think it was that someone called Elizabeth on from the States, and she's I think mid-60s, only trained for 18 months. Is actually just about to start do her first powerlifting competition. But he talked about the fact that he now works with an organisation, I think it's called the Raise the Bar Initiative, that they are there. I think it's just in the States, but they will try and encourage females of all ages into strength training. So she now goes into middle schools and works with a group of, which I imagine they must be kind of mid-teens. Not sure if they're kind of schooling system over there, but yeah, she goes in and she works with these teenagers in inspiring them to lift weights. And yeah, she's like, if I can start it in my mid-60s and start considering powerlifting, then yeah, there's no reason you guys can't. And yeah, she really enjoys it, and yeah, it's having more people to to put themselves out there and just share the stories like you're doing here, is fantastic. Something I picked up on there, and also something you mentioned before we started recording, is you said at the spa you went to the gym and you said you've been away recently and actually took your gym clothes and used the gym there. How is that, having done the workouts at home now, change your confidence to step into the weights area of a kind of a commercial gym or a gym somewhere?
Oh yeah, I think now, you know, if I'm traveling, I always try and take. I was lucky enough to go to India in February with work. I went on a yoga retreat, and I took my gym kit then. Did some, you know, you could only fit 2 workouts in, one a week, but you know, better than nothing. And so now, yeah, I'm confidence wise, I'm like, yeah, I'm not slim. I'm never going to be slim, but I'm fit. I'm fit enough. I feel fit enough now to go into a gym and use the equipment and not be embarrassed that, you know. And one of the gyms I was on holiday, I used it twice. And the first time I was doing some lat pull downs, and I can't remember what weight I had. It wasn't very big. And then obviously someone had used it in between and they put it up to 80. And I didn't look first time, and I went, oh. um, and so I had to change it. But it's, you know, I do definitely now, because of the fact that I know that if I do my workouts, I feel better. I think that's, you know, I'm quite happy to go into to a gym now if I'm on holiday and go use the gym and just go, you know, well, this is for me. This is for me. I don't really care what anybody else says. I'm not probably in the right, you know, outfit. I'm just there in the baggies or whatever, you know. But I'm happy because I know that I will benefit from doing it.
And I think a lot of people assume that they will never do this in a gym. They don't like the gym, and they'll always do it from home if they're going to do it. And I think that a lot of people, it's because if they haven't done any kind of strength training before, all the exercises are new to them. The idea of doing an exercise with weight then is new to them, and the environment of the gym is new to them, and the fear of then looking like a complete beginner and therefore potentially being judged. I found a lot of people like yourself and Mandy, who's with you in that founding group, found that actually once the confidence had grown in the exercises and doing them with a bit of resistance and exploring that idea of pushing to fatigue, then and having a workout that she'd done as the routine twice a week, and she was familiar with it, she knew exactly what she was doing. Actually, stepping into the gym then wasn't a daunting prospect because she could just do what she's already doing at home, and it's just the environment that changed. And then later on, that she could think about picking heavier weights or changing to equipment. And I think a lot of people get put off by this, and that's a big barrier to people, is they don't have the equipment at home and they don't want to join a gym. And yeah, there are ways to feel confident in the gym.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a bit of a sort of chicken and egg situation, isn't it?
And then another thing I wanted to ask is, a lot of people who already are active before, and it's mainly people, runners, but I think yoga and Pilates are in there as well, is if time is quite limited anyway to do exercise, they want to do the things they already enjoy and are doing, and therefore sacrificing a run to do a strength training session feels like a sacrifice, and it feels like, and again, it's a negative way of feeling. How have you found that? Have you managed to fit it in on top of all the yoga you're already having to do, or have you had to cut back a bit of yoga to fit the time?
I had to cut back a little. Sometimes I can fit everything in. This morning I've managed to do everything, so I'm really happy. Um, some mornings I will just do my yoga. Some mornings I will just do my workout because I can't fit everything in. Um, and but I think I try and do 3 workouts a week, um, at least. Um, and and I when I first started, if I missed one, I'd probably think, oh, I've only done 2 now. It's not a problem. Whereas now I feel if I miss one for whatever reasons, life always gets in the way, doesn't it? I feel cheated. It's like I've only done 2 this week. It's not right. Um, but I think for me, it's the combination between cardio and strength training. But equally at the other end, I do yoga, and I also do something called Feldenkrais, which is even gentler than yoga. Um, and so for me, it's I have to do everything. If I only do the strength training, then I lose what I gain from the yoga and the Feldenkrais. So for me, it's the fact that I know as I age, I have to do more. I have to do more movement. Um, if I have a day when as I said, I've just had COVID, and I've had days where I've just sort of spent the morning in bed because I felt so awful, and then actually made it downstairs and sat in a chair all afternoon, and I feel dreadful for it. I feel absolutely dreadful, and so I know movement for me is what my body requires, whatever movement it is. Um, so it's for me it's almost like I would find time to clean my teeth and have my cup of coffee, so I have to find time to do my workouts and my yoga. So but you need to adjust, and I think until you see the benefits, it's very difficult to convince yourself that it's a something you want to do, something you want to fit in. As I say, what if you want to do something, you'll always find the time.
It kind of brings us back to that idea, or the misconception, that if you do strength training, you'll get bulky. There's another couple of myths that people tell themselves, is if you do strength training, you'll lose flexibility, or runners feel like by being bulkier and losing flexibility, you'll also become a slower runner. And there's that myth that's been there in the past. I'm interested have you noticed any difference in your kind of ability to do certain yoga poses? Has there been any negative difference? Has there been positive difference?
I wouldn't say there've been any negative. I mean, I do know I've had arthritis in my knees for forever, apparently, for near enough 28 years. I was pregnant with my second son when I was told I had arthritis in my knees. Um, and I think I'm getting arthritis in one of my hips. Um, so that's limiting me. I know that my hip, rotation and is different on one side to the other, but I don't think that's due to strength training. It's just due to the fact that my hips are getting older. But no, I can still do everything I want to do, and this is what drives me on, because I want to be strong, but equally I want to be flexible, which is why for me I I can't just do the strength. I can't just do the yoga. I have to do both, because I need both. I need to, relax and calm and just let everything settle, which I get through my yoga and Feldenkrais. But equally, I need to, put on some loud music and go and bash some weights out. And I need both ends of the spectrum.
And how about the tennis? Are you still playing?
Yeah, still playing. I don't know if I'm improving. My trouble with tennis is that I just enjoy playing, so I'm never actually worried if I win or lose as long as I play well, which is a bit frustrating for my doubles partner when I play doubles. But I've noticed that my ability to run for drop shots, I think, has improved. I feel I can do the sprints across the court. Um, I have quite a decent forehand. So whether that would have happened anyway, or whether it's aided by the strength, you can't tell. But I definitely feel that having the strength within me helps me in all walks of life.
I remember the conversation that we had about 4 or 5 weeks after you started the Stronger for Life course, and that's the one where you said about the fatigue had already improved, but you'd also noticed that other people were noticing your serve was faster and looked stronger. And then you also alluded to at the start, the opening of the cans, the jars felt a lot easier. Is there anything, other sort of small wins like that you've noticed that kind of more day to day life?
I don't know. It's really difficult because of the fact that you just get on with life, don't you? It's like we had delivery the other day. We like feeding the birds in the garden, so I had 20 kilograms of sunflower seeds arrived. I just pick them up, take them to the garage. I don't even think about it. It's like it's 20-gram box, and the delivery driver said, "What's heavy, madam?" I'm like, "It's fine." And they look at me, it's like, "No, madam, it's 20 kilograms." And I'm like, "Oh, don't worry about it." So I suppose it's things like that you just don't really think about because it's just something I can do that I'm happy with. I'll get a delivery of compost and I'll be able to, cart 50-litre, 100-litre bags around the garden. And I'll just sort of think, well, that's fine because that's what I want to keep doing.
Again, I don't want it to sound like it's kind of almost like trying to turn into a bit of a sort of sales pitch for the course, but I just wanted to get an idea of how you felt having a bit of a guidance on a program to build. Because had you made any attempts just before finding me in terms of just trying to kind of set up some exercises on your own and just get going with it, or
I hadn't really done anything on my own beforehand, and I was looking for something. And your course came up, and to be honest, because I didn't know if strength training was going to work for me, because I tried other things and it hadn't. I was disinclined to invest a huge amount of money in it because what happens if it failed? And so your course was just the right price for me. But it also meant I could do it at home, so I didn't have to, get a gym membership or have commit to something that I didn't know if it was going to work. And there was structure to it, so I had some guidance and all the videos that you gave. So we had and it worked. So I was like, "Whoa, that was a wise investment." And then I started to, I had some basic weights, and then I, invested in some more weights, invested in some other equipment, and it was, that for me was then worth it because I could see the results. But I think, the trouble is, it's like you've got to invest something initially, and you just don't know, one, if you're going to like it, or two, if it's going to have any effect. But for me, I was just, it was just lucky that I saw your course. For me, it was the right price, and I thought, well, what have I got to lose? I could give it a try. If it doesn't work out, then I haven't invested. I'm invested, but I haven't, invested a huge amount. Um, it wasn't like joining a gym. I mean, my sons have a gym membership, and I was just like, it costs that much. But because I don't think I could necessarily. Well, I mean, I would probably choose not to spend my money on a gym membership because I wouldn't guarantee I could go there. I would go there. And So for me, it was ideal because I could do it at home. I could do it at my own pace, but I had structure to it, and we had our group sessions that I could say, Chris, I don't know what I'm doing here. And that's the lovely thing about working with you, in the sense that, at the moment, as I was saying, I've just sort of got to that point where I'm happy with everything, but I do need to mix things up a bit. And I know when I start mixing things up that, on a Wednesday morning, I can jump on the group chat and say, Chris, what should I do? I've tried this, it's not working. Or I've tried this, and how can I progress? So having that backup there all the time is ideal for me. Absolutely perfect.
Yeah, and I think a couple of the others, because I really wanted the group calls to be a part of the course, because, like you say, there's the structure that I give, but I try and give some flexibility within that structure in terms of the exercise selections, because I know the same exercises aren't going to work for everyone depending on ability levels and other pains and complaints coming into it. But I think what I wasn't kind of expecting as much, I knew people would like the calls for guidance and help and the sort of support around any sticking points they might have reached. But actually, a lot of people still turned up weekly because they quite like the accountability of checking in with each other, the like-minded people, the support they got from them, and being able to encourage others in their journeys as well. Again, because how are you someone who sort of needs accountability from others? It doesn't really sound like you're good at just.
No, I'm quite, once I'm sort of committed to something, I'm quite sort of quite happy on my own, sort of thing. But I do like the idea of, if I come up with a problem, having a resource to connect with, to say, look, why isn't this working for me? And it's very comforting to hear other people go, oh yeah, I had that problem too. I remember being on calls before where you just suggested a change in grip that's helped people. So it's things like that. And I think also the other thing is that on those calls there have been quite a range of abilities, which is nice to see. So some people are lifting really, really heavy, whereas there may be others of us who are just starting small and building up. And I think that's good, because you get to see that it's one size doesn't fit all. It's about working in a way that feels right for you and progressing comfortably.
Yeah, because that's the problem with a lot of the YouTube workouts and things out there is it tends to be aimed at a one size fits all type approach, which tends to be someone aimed at someone slightly younger, that they're not taking into consideration any arthritic changes or the fatigue or anything along those lines. And then people inevitably struggle with it and then give up the process. And actually, just a few tweaks could have saved them a lot of hassle.
And I think also the thing is, it's the fact that because you've got that group you can connect with, if you do have a bit of I'm not sure if this is right for me, because we all start and we see some changes, and then at some point in time we plateau, because that's how we work, really, to a certain extent. We don't see much progress, and I think then it's really nice to have that comfort of other people going, oh yeah, I was like that, I did that, and then after give it a little while, and then you'll probably see that you want to progress again. Um, so I think it's just a nice format to have, because it's there as people can dip in and out as much as they require it, when they require it.
And then, just for anyone listening who was interested, I actually even have a free ebook that has a similar format. You just don't get the group calls and the support and the accountability there. But that's nevertaughttolift.com/ebook, and I'll put that in the description below. And then if anyone anyone is interested in looking into the course a bit more, it's called Stronger for Life, and again, I'll put that in the links below. But Jan, I want to come back to the equipment that you started with, just to give people an idea of that it doesn't have to be a huge amount. Can you remember what you were using at the start? Brilliant. And what's that on the side in terms of?
2 kilogram dumbbell. There we go. There it is. So I had 2 of those, and I had a 1 kilogram and a 4 kilogram kettlebell. That was it. That's all I started with. And I had some. That was it. And then after a while, I bought some 6 kilogram dumbbells. And then I bought some more weights, which was like a little package. So there were 2 dumbbells, which were you could modify them, and then a bar, yeah, and a bar. But that was again only small weights, so they don't go up very high. Because I just thought I want to be comfortable with those, because it was more than I was lifting, and so I just wanted to make sure I was comfortable with those, and then you know, as I was saying, I need to get
Resistance bands as well?
yeah, loads of resistance bands. Loads of resistance bands, and also it's one of the things that I haven't been used for ages, which is where you clip it over the door with the handles. Can't remember what you call that.
The TRX, or that's suspension trainer, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I used that for a while as well. I haven't used that for a while actually. I might need to go back to that. And then, as I say, I bought the rings for the garden, so I've got those rings outside. So yeah, it's just it's finding things that work for you really. So, but even having a 2 kilogram, and just sort of, and that's all I started doing, just gentle, lifts and then bicep curls. And as I say, I can do much more now. But yeah, that's where I started.
I think we've pretty much covered everything I wanted to sort of go through, and the things I really want to highlight there. I suppose the last thing is, if anyone is listening, they haven't started yet, and they're sitting on the fence, but they're kind of feeling a bit inspired now, having heard your story. You've kind of interweave some advice in along the way, but is there any other advice you'd kind of give to someone who's sitting on that fence and looking to start?
I would just say, just start, just do something. You can do quite a lot with just body weight. While the kettle's boiling, you can just put your hands on the work surface and do some just gentle press ups. You can take your laundry detergent and use that and lift it up if you haven't got any weights. Just try something, because it definitely energized me, and it's definitely made an improvement in my life for doing it, and it's something I won't stop now that I've started. I'll just hopefully keep progressing. So.
Great, and I'm glad you've seen the benefits, and yeah, not even when your back started hurting, not decided that was the weightlifting's fault, and you.
I think the thing is, I think when you start later, you will get niggles. You'll get things that don't necessarily work the way you want them to. You might get pain. You might just get discomfort. But I think don't use that as a stop sign. Use that as a way of just diversion. In the sense that okay, so maybe what I'm doing isn't quite right for me at this moment. Don't stop altogether. Do something else. Just and then maybe you can come back to other things later on. As I say, I've stopped doing deadlifts for quite some time, and I don't feel as though I've missed out by not doing them. And as I say, I'm going to think about trying to get back to them. But I think when you're older, there will be things that will react when you start anything new, whatever it may be, whatever. But don't use that as a stop sign. Use that just as a way of thinking, okay, so maybe I need to just divert and do something slightly different, and maybe come back to that.
Yeah, love it. It's definitely about that. It's how do we modify or adapt the exercises or the program to account for how you're feeling right now, and then how do we sort of build you back up to be able to do those things later on again. Great. Well, I think we can leave it there. And I can't thank you enough for coming on to give up your time to speak to us. And if anyone does have any messages for Jan, do leave those in the comments below. If you are watching this on YouTube, or you can send me an email. It's chris@nevertoldtolift.com, and I'll pass those on to her. But yeah, for now, I'll let you get on with your day. Thank you very much.
Very much indeed, Chris. Bye.